It's always good to catch up, my man. Thanks so much for carving out time. And let's start with both you and my alma mater, Syracuse, getting a win on Friday night over the number 2 team in the country, Clemson. You remember the good times. It's been a long time since the good times, but what did that win mean to that program in your mind?
So here's the crazy thing about it. I hadn't gone back to Syracuse over the years because of football, obviously as a player playing on Sundays and, the Saturdays being filled with other things outside of being able to have free time and travel. And I had an event on Thursday. My schedule was clear. I committed to the event. I go up to Syracuse. I take a walk around the facility. I'm, in awe of how everything looks all brand new. And I just think that there was a little bit of Qadry Ismail, the missile fortune that was responsible for that win. I just think that that's what it was.
Very nice. Were you in the building on Friday or you left before the game?
No, I left before the game. I have a son in his senior year of high school he plays quarterback for John Carroll here in Maryland, and he's being recruited. And I felt like that is awesome that Syracuse is going to have a big game, but I am committing to the big game of my son because you only get to be a senior in high school once. So, yeah, we did that.
No doubt about it. Well, okay, we're going to pay for you to fly up to Syracuse before every game now for the rest of the season. You just make sure that your schedule is clear. So the Ravens lose at home to the Bears. They were big favorites in this game as well. And, boy, they have not been able to find any consistency this year. What's been their biggest problem, especially from a Joe Flacco passing game standpoint?
I think there's a few things. One, the obvious elephant in the room is injury, and you have an offensive line without your all-pro guard in Marshall Yanda, you're going to suffer some. And I think with the offensive line, the way it is as we look at it today, there's still some miscommunication. There's still some just guys getting physically beat at the point of attack, and it's leading to a inconsistent play. Now, with all that said, I think one of the things that made Joe Flacco a successful quarterback early in his career and obviously a Super Bowl MVP was the fact that he had guys on the outside making plays for him. And right now, I don't really see the consistency with his receivers on the outside. I think that this past game against Chicago, they came off a really strong win out in Oakland. Mike Wallace played really well. The deep ball came back into play and, had like 3 catches for 133 yards. But when you look at this game, they totally took Mike Wallace out of the equation. He tries to get the ball to Rashad Perriman, and he just doesn't look like a first-round explosive threat guy. And, you have Jerry Maclin, who was inactive for the game because of an injury. You just see a team that just looks not really in sync, and a team that has tried to find ways to get its talented players going, but the consistency of which they have been going out there playing has been very much failing Joe Flacco.
Qadry Ismail, member of the Ravens Radio Network, former Super Bowl champion, joins us here on the show to break down the NFL. Big story of the weekend, of course, was Aaron Rodgers going down. If you are the Packers, what's your best hope at quarterback? Is it sticking with Brett Hundley? Is it going out and trying to lure Tony Romo out of retirement? Is it signing somebody else? What do you do?
I think Brett Hundley is the one guy that has been there from the beginning. I know everyone wants to, talk about what Jay Cutler has done, which, in my opinion, obviously they got a victory against Atlanta, but I don't look at him as like, oh my God, Jay Cutler, he has been the difference maker for this team. He's played average at best. And, I think for Tony Romo, you're looking at a guy who has not, outside of going ahead and interviewing guys the Saturday before the game and, kind of figuring out his role on TV, hasn't really done anything from a quarterbacking standpoint of significance. And you're already knee-deep in the season. So I think you stick with what you got, and you game plan it from there. Yeah, this is a devastating loss. I'm sure that there's some other options out there as far as a backup, but Hundley, in my mind, this is why you have him as your backup. And if you didn't like it, you should not have had him to begin with as your backup.
Pittsburgh Steelers going to Kansas City yesterday and get a really impressive victory. And defensively, they totally stymied the Kansas City Chiefs. Feels like every time these two teams play, Pittsburgh has the Chiefs' number. Why do you think that is? Why do the Pittsburgh Steelers play so well against KC?
Yeah, I think sometimes there's the old cliche of horses for courses. In the National Football League, it's about matchups and, how do you match up with this team versus another team? Hey, this defense plays a certain way. Our offense really can exploit what they do. And I think for Pittsburgh, as you look at the game, Alex Smith just never looked comfortable. I think Pittsburgh, the way they run to the football, I don't think it was a case where, Hunt was going to get the big run. I thought Tyreek Hill, is as good and as explosive as a receiver as he is. You also saw a lot of, getting after him and not allowing him to have the play, the big play, the signature moment play, if you will, down the football field. They, on a scramble, Alex Smith had his one guy get the big play down the field to, kind of get the game within two. But ultimately, I think you look back at that game and you just see where, Pittsburgh, from a defensive standpoint, really confused him all day. And then at the same time, the offense made the necessary plays that were needed to secure the victory.
Qadry Ismail is our guest here on the show, NFL analyst. And the Falcons have the talent to win the Super Bowl. We saw that last year. But, boy, they play so inconsistently. And yesterday, they blow a 17-point lead to the Dolphins. What do you think it's about this Falcons team where they just can't seem to all click on all cylinders for a couple weeks in a row?
Sometimes people look at your talent on paper and you just automatically, check off the box of, oh, yep, they're good, they're going to win. And then, something crazy happens during the week, and it's called being a human. Whether it be reading your own press clippings, whether it be, I don't really have to work for it. I'm just going to arrive and show up. And I think sometimes this Falcons ball club, they have that mentality. And it's easy to kind of get lulled into things when you're looking at, the tape and you're seeing, Jay Cutler just looked, like the average quarterback that he is. And you just think that, it's no big deal. But you turn around, you look back at the game, and you're like, how the heck did we, go ahead and allow Jay Cutler and company to come in and do what they did against us. I think they ran the ball right down Atlanta's throat. That was just as clear can be. And then defensively, you're talking about the Dolphins' defense, just saying, we ain't reading our press clippings. We don't feel like we have accomplished anything. Let's go out there and show Atlanta that, last year was last year, but this is this year, this is this week. And they got the better of them.
There's been no more impressive rookie than Deshaun Watson. And out of his 5 starts, he's had 3 wins and nearly got the win in New England a couple of weeks ago and put up 5 touchdowns against the Chiefs a week ago. What is making Deshaun Watson so effective this early in his career?
Some guys, they get better as they go along in the game. The game continually slows down for them. I think that Bill O'Brien, his system and how he helps quarterbacks, I think if you're the type of guy that can be cerebral and really absorb what he's teaching, you're going to be really good. I think we've seen other quarterbacks in that Texan system that, you could see where the system was in place. They didn't take advantage of it. I think Deshaun Watson is that guy that can take advantage of it. Now, again, they're not necessarily, having them throw it 30, 40 times. So there is somewhat of a game management. I think we need to pump the brakes just a touch when you talk about, going up against a Cleveland Browns team. They have yet to win a game. So I don't want to get, too high and think that, he has arrived. But absolutely, yes, what we're seeing is a quarterback in the making to have a really strong and solid year. And then let's see how he grows off of this. But I don't want to, put him in the Hall of Fame just yet. I think that, so far so good as far as his play and what we're seeing out of Deshaun Watson.
Qadry Ismail, a member of the Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl championship team in 2000, a member now of the Ravens Radio Network, NFL analyst, and you also moonlight helping out our buddy Andrew Bogish, who handles our headlines, get his play-by-play act together. Keep cracking the whip on him. He needs the discipline, okay, Q?
Andrew is the man. He has that raspy voice, and he definitely makes sure that those people who are listening out in CAA college football land, they understand that Delaware has done a great job in scoring.
That's a tremendous Andrew Bogish impersonation. I love it. It's always good to catch up, buddy. Thanks so much, man.